Who has the most unhinged eating habits?
The president. The interesting thing about the president is that he eats really bad food, which is McDonald's, and then, candy and Diet Coke. But he drinks the Diet Coke all times. He has the constitution of a deity. I don't know how he's alive, but he is. And he's at Mar-a-Lago. He says that the only time that he eats the junk food is when he's on the road, and he wants to eat food from big corporations because he trusts it. He doesn't want to get sick when he's on the road. But when he's at Mar-a-Lago or at the White House, he's eating really good food. So I think you get this, if you travel with him, you get this idea that he's just pumping himself full of poison all day long, and you don't know how he's walking around, much less being the most energetic person, any of us have ever met.
The Trump plan is working. This is why they're getting crazier and crazier. Why am I enthusiastic about the midterm elections? Everybody else is kind of doom and gloom. Is that number one, we are going to have a re-energizing on the redistrictings in Florida. I think Florida's going to give us another 3 seats. I think there's a couple of others out there we can pick up. And I see that there's a policy set that could play very well for us, particularly the fact that the left is getting crazier and crazier. Now that they can't point to affordability, they can't point to anything on the economy. Because remember, I told people, don't fall into the affordability trap. President Trump says it's a made-up term, but don't fall into the affordability trap. Clearly, inflation's an issue, but that issue was brought on by Biden. President Trump stopping the rate of growth, getting inflation under control. But it's going to be economic growth, it's going to be jobs, and it's going to be wages. And you've got a plan to deal with that. And you can start to see the green sprouts of that right now. And as the Democrats lose that as a talking point, right, as a political talking point, they're going to get crazier and crazier. You see what is in Minnesota. They're defending the stealing of your money.
Mood right now, President Trump. Tell us what you really think. That's the first time I've seen that from a president. But, some things are deserved, and that's why we love them. What's going on tonight, guys? Ace here. I'm back after bubbling like a baby last night trying to get through my Scott Adams goodbye stream. And so thank you all for tolerating me as I blubbed at the end there. I couldn't control it anymore. So anyways, 3 years being on screen, thousands of hours of content I've given you guys. I guess at some point I was going to get emotional. Anyways, you're back. Glad you're back. Welcome. Got a lot to talk about tonight. We have a lot of news. Members, I know some of you are probably thinking, tonight's my night. Wednesday nights are members' lives. You're absolutely right. They usually are. But not tonight. After the Scott Adams stream, I need to get back onto the swing of things. There's so much news going on and the Iran stuff ramping up. So we got to talk tonight. Members, I will make it up to you. I plan on it this weekend. I think we might have a fun members live night, maybe a movie night or something fun. So anyways, tonight, so much going on, guys. This Clinton stuff is bigger than it seems, and the media wants you to know. The Iran stuff ramping up. Greenland ramping up. Supreme Court, what's going on with the tariffs? My, we have a lot to talk about. Alyssa Slotkin under investigation. Is it finally happening? What's going on? Are we near checkmate for the global elites? I actually believe we are. I believe we are, and after tonight, I believe you will understand why I believe so, and might even believe so yourself, because none of this is coincidence that it's all happening at once. The ICE riots in Minnesota, the Iranian protests, the Clintons dodging this Epstein hearing, which puts them in contempt, which is why Steve Bannon and Navarro went to prison. Remember, the first arrest might shock the world. Yeah. So listen, the further we get into all this and the further it keeps becoming more and more obvious, you better believe we're going to have to talk some of the conspiracy stuff, some of the Q stuff, all that, because it's looking more and more like that was a guideline all along. So we'll be talking about that as well. Mike Tomlin's gone. How will that affect the economy, Eric? Well, the economy of Pittsburgh is about to get a lot better because at least now you have hope of winning a playoff game in a year or two. Anyways, before we get started, guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that follow if you're on Rumble or X. I definitely appreciate your guys' time. I'm going to do my best not to waste a minute of it and give you the best breakdown of the world and political news, what's going on with the Trump administration today that you can find anywhere. That is my goal for you as you watch tonight. We'll also have to talk about, the stock market. You made me think about the stock market with that. But so before we get started, do all that, please, if you're watching on X, hit that repost, share with a friend, maybe who's black pilling, because there ain't no black pilling here. We learned that lesson from, well, I teach it all the time, but Scott, if you guys watched the stream last night, that was one of the main things with Scott Adams. Do not allow yourself to frame things in a negative light. It never works out. It's terrible for your brain, and it never gets us on the right track. All right, as we're getting started here, let me hit out some shout outs in the chat, and then we're going to get moving fast and furious. Cass Sink, numero uno tonight. What is going on? Moody in the house. Frank Anastasio. Action Now Words, what's going on? Jason Yancey, what's up, brother? Wago Waco, Scott Volkovich. The one, what it do? Settle the trades. Hey, you guys. Love it. Chad calls, what's going on, man? Linda Talley, good evening. Donald Bolio, what's up, friend? Been a long time. Over there on Rumble, I see AZ Tropic and Lochtefeld. What's going on, brothers? We have Steve Bernard's here tonight. What's going on, man? Brett, PC Load Letter. What the does that mean? I don't know, Brett. Why are you saying that in my chat, huh? What does it mean, brother? This is not the members only tonight. Eric says, as soon as Tomlin resigned, GDP went up 2%. Rum Dog, what's going on, man? Good to see you guys. All right. Excuse me. I got a little verklempt there for a second. Verklempt. Discuss amongst yourselves. Verklempt. What's going on, Pat M? Good to see you. All right. Let's get it going, guys. Well, I'm going to lead with this because this was on my thumbnail tonight, so why not? Camille Dmitriev, interesting person, posts Checkmate tonight. Now, most of you probably don't know who this is. I didn't even know who it was until a few weeks ago. Camille Dmitriev, or Kirill Dmitriev, my bad, has been giving out all kinds of little intonations, behind the scenes stuff going on with Russia, dropping little intel clues, and all the real in-depth people I tend to follow really pay attention to this guy. So I started paying attention as well. And well, what's he writing Checkmate to? This: Bill and Hillary Clinton could face prison time for failing to testify in the Epstein probe. Immediately when I saw this, I remembered the old prophecy, quote unquote, prophecy or prediction going back several years that the first arrest would shock the world. Well, I can't say this will be it, but I can tell you that as of right now, because the Clintons blew off a congressional hearing, they have every right that even the people would accept to arrest Bill and Hillary Clinton. Interesting that they would ditch on the Epstein probe if they don't have anything to hide. What's the point? Well, again, this is just opening up doors. It's all pulling together. But I didn't think too much of it. I just thought, oh, that's interesting. But again, the person who posts this is worth paying attention to. But there's more. Could it get more obvious when Kirill Dmitriev posts Checkmate on the exact 8-year delta of post 523 that simply says Checkmate? 140. What if China, Russia, and others are coordinating with POTUS to eliminate the NWO? January 13th, 2018, there was a Q post that just said Checkmate. And then on January 13th. Anyways, these are the kind of interesting stuff that I pay attention to. I can't tell you if it'll lead to what we expect it, but if you think that people aren't messaging to us right now, after everything the Department of Labor, I covered that not last night, but the night before and the night before that, and last week as well, the Department of Labor reposting all kinds of Q proofs, trust the plan, Patriots in control, all coming out of the Department of Labor. And then we have this. So just saying, guys, this is the kind of stuff we need to look out for. It's communications, it's comms for us to pay attention to, do your own homework, do your own research, or watch my show. But the point is that there's signals all around. Could be signals to throw people off. I don't know. But what it does tell us is there's more going on behind the scenes than we know, especially when you factor in the Department of Labor has been reposting these as well. So important stuff to watch, and we'll see how it plays out. But I really do think somebody's telling us to pay attention for a reason. That's what I think. All right, to continue on, a lot of news today. So we're going to build it all up. But the first thing I wanted to share tonight is this post from Jesse Kelly, because it's actually really important. As we go through everything, and a lot of people, again, we dealt with the black pillars. Thank God most of them don't watch my show anymore, or they've woken up and seen the light. But it's always important to remember exactly what Jesse says here. Trump is not the end. This is not the end. We're not at the end of anything. He's not finishing the job. He's starting it. He says he is the beginning. He's step one. If you see him as the end, you'll constantly be frustrated he's not doing more. When you understand he's the beginning and the next guy will be even better, you'll feel better about things. That is an excellent post. Reminded me exactly of what I've been thinking about with J.D. Vance coming and Trump being the one who's actually cleaning it up, doing these operations, running, getting peace done in the world, settling down the foreign policy, weeding out the corruption, getting the tax cuts passed, all that, for laying the foundation for an economy so that the next person can be the one who really rebuilds America on top of this beautiful new foundation. And that's what I think is happening. And again, you guys know, because you've been watching my show, I've been saying that ever since Trump got elected, and ever since we started getting to know JD more and seeing how this is factoring out. Okay, you guys all know that. But the fact is, others are starting to see it. And Jesse Kelly, he's got a radio show to thousands and thousands of people, might even reach millions on some good days. This is a big deal. This means more and more people are waking up and starting to recognize what's happening, which is very good, because as people wake up, they'll start seeing more of the wins. They'll get more patient. They'll actually start getting more involved, because people with a vision are willing to endure more. Vision gives pain a purpose. So once you have vision, you will start moving forward. You'll start becoming a part of it more, and you'll understand why not everything happens at once. So again, important post by Jesse as we start getting into everything. So today, everybody was expecting the tariff ruling, and it didn't happen. Word is that now the ruling might be postponed until June or July. So Polymarket has had the odds of the tariffs staying in place at like between like 23 and 34%, very low odds. They're expecting the Supreme Court to overturn it. I'll tell you right now that because they're waiting till June, it's going to be upheld. I feel almost 100% certain of this now. This is the first time, because this was the most iffy decision I've seen from the Supreme Court in a long time. I watched the arguments. It definitely seemed like it was swaying towards them supporting Trump, but there was enough there to make me think maybe he'd catch one of those in the middle. They'd strike it down. But now that they've postponed it, knowing how much money is coming in, knowing how much problems there are that this will cause if they overturn it and letting that build up, it tells me they have the votes to uphold it. And Roberts, Roberts gets a lot of flack, and deservedly so. He's done some terrible, he's been a part of some terrible decisions and abandoned us on terrible decisions. There's one thing he's been really good at the whole time, though, and that is protecting the court in general, trying to keep them all on the same page in general about keeping the Supreme Court something like kind of reverential. And since they have the votes, this tells me that Roberts is resting and saying, we're going to wait. We have the votes. Let this continue. And we'll just do it when we release all our decisions. And then we can get out of Dodge, because there might be riots. There might be crazy people. This is one of those big decisions that's going to really infuriate the left. And that's going to be glorious. So why not do it all at the end of the term when they can leave and protect the Supreme Court? I have a feeling as Chief Justice, that's a decision he's made and why it didn't get released. And now waiting till June. But again, we're at $650 billion brought in by the tariffs at this point. By June, we could be well over $1 trillion. There's no way the Supreme Court is going to force that to be paid back. Like zero. So this is going to be one of those places where Polymarket's wrong. Polymarket has its benefits, but you guys know and you realize that they use the Polymarket and Cashy and all these betting sites. They run it. They use them as psyops. They use them to discourage. They use them to make you feel like you know what's going to happen. And they twist it. Sometimes it is more accurate than even a poll, because there's real money being involved there. But the people who bet on these, for the most part, it's not the Jims and Joes. It's the guys with the big time moolah. And they move the markets on purpose. Don't trust what you see with this stuff. There's a reason why everybody and their mother seems to be sponsored now by these markets, one or the other, or betting sites. They're starting to be used as psyops, and they probably have been the whole time, but you can see it. And this is trying to scare everybody, especially in MAGA. 34% chance SCOTUS keeps tariffs in place. I'm telling you right now, if you have access to these markets and you can get these odds, if I had $1,000 to put down right now and make this money at these odds, I would do it right now. I wouldn't even blink, because they're going to uphold Trump's tariffs. I'm telling you right now. That's what told me. The pushing it off was the tell. And that's all you need to know. Brett says, I wonder if Polymarkets can track expired car warranties. Moody says, maybe they want to wait till people get tax cuts and rebates and fewer people will get upset. Get upset about holding up the tariffs or shutting them down? I don't think they care at all about the people in this, Moody. I really don't. You guys doing Office Space? Office Space in the chat is always welcome. Well done. Moody says YouTube ads are constantly showing betting ads for everything I watch. It's a racket. It's taken over the market. Couple things. A, it's really good opportunity to rob you of your money. They do this every opportunity they can. They steal money from the poor, like the lotto. You know, the lottery is basically a way to tax poor people. Think about it. You get 5 million people in, say, California, all hoping to win big. Those 5 million people buy tickets over and over again. The pot gets up to $1 billion. 97% of the people who bought those tickets are poor, lower middle class. Somebody wins. Big $1 billion prize. Well, now they're in the upper tax bracket. Out of that $1 billion, 40% goes to Uncle Sam. They keep $600 million. That's great for them, but you also just got $400 million from poor people. $400 million. Lottery is a tax on poor people. Betting sites, not as much a tax unless you win, but it's a sneaky way to separate you from your money. Separate people who don't know what they're doing. There's a lot of rich people who bet, do well, professional bettors. They're robbing everybody who is just having fun with it, losing their money to the house all the time. It's just like casinos. So I'm always very, very wary of that. And I'm not against saying placing a bet every once in a while. But now the fact you can do it on your phone, it's pretty messed up. It's so unregulated now. It's out of hand, and they are making crazy amount of money from this. So now you're quoting the jerk. So yeah, they're pushing them like crazy. Vince asks, if San Francisco pulls off another upset, I'm terrified of the Seahawks, but would I prefer the Bears or Rams? I'd actually prefer the Rams. And it's not because I think the Bears are better, because I actually think we match up against you guys better, but it's because of the cold. I'm afraid of playing in the cold with our team, but that kind of cold against a team that's used to it. I think we'd handle the Rams better in LA because we'd have more fans down there. Every time the Niners play in LA, it's like a home game. We get more fans. Our fans travel way better. So anyways, okay, moving on. Speaking of the Supreme Court, they had the big hearing on the transgender rights, and it's definitely going in favor of the states that want to ban them, which is beautiful. But just look and see, when they pay attention, they'll always tell you who they are. Let me put it that way. These people all came out to celebrate or to protest this at the Supreme Court for trans rights. And what do you see right there? The satanic circle. And so there you go. I mean, what else do you need to know? Believe them when they show you who they are. Okay, big winning right here. Alyssa Slotkin. Now, we already saw Mark Kelly. Pete Hegseth went after him, downgraded him, revoked his pension, or not fully revoked his pension, but downshifted his pension, which is a major dishonor in the military. Mark Kelly's now suing for it. But the investigations are starting on these people because of their basically calling for rebellion against the president from the military. It's sedition. It's not quite punishable by death, although it could be if ruled treason. But here you go. Senator Slotkin on Michigan said on Tuesday she's under investigation by the Justice Department for participating in the so-called Seditious Six video in November. In the video, Slotkin, a CIA veteran who served in Iraq, along with 5 others, called for the military to stand against illegal orders. But the intimation was that all Trump's orders are illegal. So stand up against them. Anyways, this is ramping up. Everybody's being so tough on Bondi right now. And there's a lot of PSYOP nonsense going on about this. And some of it is good people who are frustrated, which I can forgive their frustration. I can't forgive what they're doing with it until they fix it. And I'm talking about some people in the movement who I love, or some of the best people at this kind of stuff. One of them is Rich Barris. Rich Barris has kind of lost his mind on everything he's upset isn't happening, and he's freaking out over the polls in the midterms. It sucks because he is the best pollster there is. His election stuff was fantastic, but he's now losing it. Another one is Mark Mitchell or Rasmussen reports. Another one is Robert Barnes, who I'm completely I'm completely convinced at this point that Barnes is a grifter. And so if you guys follow Robert Barnes and love him, I get it. I used to also. But at this point, I think the guy's a full-on grifter. And you want to know one of the reasons why I think so? Not only has he said a bunch of nonsense the last couple months about Trump and the administration, I challenged him on X. He replied to me. I challenged again. I responded to him. I was very respectful, and he blocked me. Little old me on X, where I have like 4,000 followers. I am not a big account. I'm not the kind of guy you get into a tussle with, but I am verified. So, I'm not a bot, and he blocked me. He couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle the heat. When an influencer, a public figure, blocks a small person just trying to have a conversation and actually just bringing some real facts, it's a good signal that somebody's not everything about them is exactly as it seems. So he's one of the couple that have blocked me. I'm not going to say all the others, but it's a kind of a point of pride. When I get blocked, I'm like, oh, all right, you just told me something big about yourself. Interesting. But anyways, these guys freaking out. But what's interesting is, like, I just played that clip from Bannon. Bannon gets it. And Bannon has been interesting lately, but he gets it. Everything he said in that clip, I agree with. That Trump's setting the stage. He's much more excited about the midterms than others. The reason I bring all this up, because those people, the three I mentioned and many others, are all going after the Justice Department, Kash Patel, FBI, everything like nothing's happening, like they're not doing anything. And meanwhile, we find these people are being investigated. Pam Bondi's getting the grand jury set up in Florida. She's got the tariffs, like the Supreme Court decisions. She's just winning one after another and about to probably win in the Supreme Court. And she's doing it with half the staff because they had to fire half of them for being deep state plants, liberal crazies that were just left over from the last few administrations. I mean, that's like, like what Rush said, like with one arm tied behind my back. That's what Bondi's doing right now. She's pulling all this off with, she's pulling all this off with half of it. Gotcha Sucker says, come on, you do that all the time, block people. I only block trolls. I don't block people who disagree or bring arguments and disagree with me. I want to have all these people, like, you guys can set, if you guys all think I block too much, let me know. But I only block trolls. And so if usually the people who get upset at me for blocking are also trolls. But I'm not saying you are, Gotcha, but it is funny that that's the one thing you ever brought up. Are you mad that I blocked you maybe before? Oh, I'm going to talk about Iran, Shogun. Let me get there. Are you ready? Because it's actually the next place I'm going. Okay? See? That one's just for you. Donald Trump has told his national security team that he would want any U.S. military action in Iran to deliver a swift and decisive blow to the regime and not spark a sustained war that dragged on for weeks or months. Again, I say it all the time. We're not doing boots on the grounds, and that's what this is right here. Trump wants, he's weighing right now what they can do in Iran that would actually matter, like Venezuela. Venezuela, over 90 minutes, we're in and out, boom. One of the most incredible military operations in history, honestly. Just the way we took out Maduro, no casualties, in and out, it was incredible. Changed our relationship with a country, basically running them from afar as like a satellite, just like they're a proxy now. Just absolutely incredible. And so you get that, and now we're looking at the same thing in Iran, because Iran has long been in cahoots with globalists. A lot of the Islamic stuff is run by the globalists. They put them in on purpose because they can be chaos actors. And Iran is often used to stir up stuff in the Middle East. That's why we got Hezbollah coming out. That's why they're the number one state sponsor of terrorism, because it messes with Israel. It destabilizes the Middle East. It's always been like one of their things they can push the button on. Trigger war, get Iran going again. And then you have this terrible caliphate, or whatever you want to call it, but it's the Ayatollahs running Iran. They're awful. They're awful to their people. These people don't want that. They're Persians at heart. They're not even like, a bunch of them are Zoroastrianists. They don't want to be ruled by Ayatollahs like in an Islamic caliphate style. They're trying to get out of it. You had the Shah of Iran, who is a full-on globalist, but he got along with the West. Wonder why he got along with the West in the 70s and 60s, huh? Yeah, do the math on that one. And now they want to install his son, because that's what they do. They run this playbook every once in a while once things get run out. Trump is having to navigate all of this. Not easy. Not easy. But the good news is he's patient and smart. And there was a news that Shogun shared, a news story that Shogun shared about about maybe and this is in the Discord, about maybe a nuke strike. Looking at what nuke strike, there's no way. We will not use nukes. That's insanity, and anybody pushing that is a propagandist. They're just trying to scare everybody. That's not who Trump is. Nothing about Trump in his first 2 terms or in any of his speeches or his history has ever said we want to use nukes. He's actually very anti-nuclear. The only thing he wants is to have nukes as a deterrent. If it was up to Trump, he'd get rid of all nukes. Trump has shown us time and time again he cares about innocent people. He doesn't want them being taken out, and a nuke obviously does that. Everything with Trump has always been precision strikes. Move in, operation, move out. No boots on the ground, nothing extra long, no casualties, or as little casualties as possible, never innocents. So there's not going to be any nuke. But Trump is trying to navigate this, and it tells me we might be in that situation like we were last June, where out of nowhere, all of a sudden something happens. Because when this is starting to come out, these little leaks, Trump administration doesn't leak. So if this is actually a leak coming out, if they're starting to spread this, they're doing it to throw somebody off. And it's working in so many ways. It's starting to impact the price of oil. The Iranians have already, all the protests have stopped. Now, we don't know if that's because of what's happening here and there's comms going on. And we don't know if it's because reportedly anywhere from 3,000 to 12,000 protesters have been killed. We don't know. There's not much going on. Did you think it was interesting that Verizon today had its biggest outage in a very long time? Millions of people without their cell service? Yeah, that's interesting stuff. That's wartime stuff. Is it Iran? Is it? I don't know. We'll find out, but timing's very interesting. As Steve Bannon likes to say, and I love when he says it, is there are no coincidences. And I believe that. I really do. Now, it could mean that we're doing certain things and, circuit boards were overloaded. I don't know. There's a million reasons, but it could also mean cyber attack. It could mean we're countering. It's going back and forth. It could mean they're trying to shut down communications. That happened in Iran. They shut down Starlink. They shut down all, it was like EMP, lights out, no internet. They didn't want their people spreading out the news. Some people escaped. Started spreading the story that there's 12,000, 20,000 people dead. Here's the thing. We don't know if any of that's true. We don't know if they're telling the truth, if these are people who actually escaped, or if they were let out by the regime to spread propaganda, to freak everybody out. We don't know. So I trust this is one of those where we just got to sit back and watch, because the Trump administration has far more intel than any of us do. I mean, when you saw the technology used in the Venezuela strike, they have some crazy stuff we have not even seen yet. So they're weighing everything. They're looking through it. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not worried. I'm not worried because I think it's absolutely true that we're not going to go in any major way that would be sustained, because I know the man who leads our country. I understand him. I've been following him all these years, and he's always been consistent. He might not be consistent in his rhetoric all the time, and that's on purpose as well, which Scott Adams taught us, didn't he? Moody says that she just had a comment about Iran that just got censored. Interesting. Gotcha Sucker says, tell what kind of person Trump is by the way he treats the military. You mean he's awesome to the military? The military loves him. We are getting all-time recruitment numbers in. What do you even mean by that comment? Okay. Moody says that was blocked. And Brett says he can't see it either. So Moody, if you can find a way to spam it on there, get it on there, and let's see what you guys say, and I'll do my best to respond to it. Washington Post reports that Israel and Iran secretly communicate through Russia, promising not to attack each other first. Now, how interesting is this? You know that one of the reasons to destabilize Iran is to get Israel back into war. That's obvious. That's Middle East 101. You want one of those things to happen, especially if you're the globalists and your war in Ukraine and Russia is starting to fall apart. These people are running out of ideas. They're running out of options. The UK economy is on the verge of collapse. The European Union is struggling. Germany, it just came out. China just came out and announced their numbers. Even with our tariffs in place, China just set a record for a trade surplus. How is that possible when our imports from China are down like 20%, somewhere around there? How are they running a surplus that's a new high? They went to Europe because Germany in the last few years has absolutely devastated their energy sector. They went green, baby. And as a result of going green, their energy has gone up in price and they're producing less. And so as a result of that, they've been shutting down their manufacturing. Germany was the manufacturing hub of Europe. Now it's pushing it all out, and it's doing at an accelerated rate to their country what we did to ours, but they're accelerating it. And China is the one making all the money off of it, producing all these goods. But as this is all happening in Germany, their people starting to struggle. Debts are rising. They're having issues with their pensions. Energy costs are skyrocketing across Europe. They're at the verge of collapse. And one of the reasons they're also at the verge of collapse is because Trump is actually finally protecting American sovereignty and American wealth. And by protecting our sovereignty and wealth, Europe no longer gets all the freebies from us, and they're starting to fall. So what do you do when all that's going on? You try to start war. And yet, this should encourage everybody that Israel and Iran went through Russia to talk to each other to say, let's not fight. Now, you better believe that's got some Trump influence on it right there. This did not happen 3 years ago. It didn't happen a decade ago. It wouldn't have happened 25, 30 years ago. These countries hate each other. Even last summer, they were trying to take each other out. Israel was ready. Israel wanted to go full-on war. Trump stopped it. And now they're talking peace behind the scenes when stuff gets volatile. It tells you we're in a different world, guys. A very different world. Let's see if I can see your comment here. Moody says, U.S. knows where 1RG is. The boss and leaders, the TV station, quick in and out straight. Yeah, well, I do wonder if Trump, going back to the precision strike they're talking about, if they're actually, this is them throwing you off the scent because they're about to launch one, or if they just haven't been able to pin it down yet. I don't know. I do think it's interesting that this story's out, and it is NBC, so do with that what you will. But yeah, tomahawks, it could be. I know that. So what we did in Venezuela, Iran's not on the ocean, so it'd be much more difficult to run a quick strike with boots on the ground like we did with Delta Force. It would much more likely be missile strike. And so yeah, you got to make sure it's worth it. You really got to make sure it's worth it. So, but yeah, you talking about the Ayatollah, Moody? They might be looking to take him out. I know one thing though, Trump does not seem to want to put the Shah's son in. He's made some interesting comments, and one of them is the exact same comment he made about Machado in Venezuela. Well, if the people would accept her, but I don't know if they will. That's Trump telling you, you're not putting a deep state puppet in. Not on my watch. He prevented it in Venezuela. He'll prevent it in Iran. And Trump will make the decision if the Ayatollahs in are better than the alternative, or if there's something we don't even know, if he finds a third alternative nobody knows about. So that's what we'll see how that plays out. All right, let's get to Greenland. Trump had a lot to say about Greenland today. And here, let's watch this clip. Oh, I did that wrong. My bad.
Sure, that's a big thing. Yes, ma'am.
The Foreign Minister of Greenland, she said a while ago in a press conference in an embassy of Denmark that she made very clear in the meeting that happened here in the White House what are their limits. She also said that it was a very respectful meeting. Are those limits going to be respected?
Well, we're going to see what happens with Greenland. We need Greenland for national security, so we're going to see what happens. They're going to brief me on the meeting right after this conference. In fact, the sooner I get you out, the faster I'm going to know exactly what happened. But we have a very good relationship with Denmark, as you know. We'll see. But, we're doing the Golden Dome. We're doing a lot of things, and we really need it. If we don't go in, Russia's going to go in, and China's going to go in. And there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it, but we can do everything
There's
about it.
no more than what they can do than
Well, we're going to see. I mean, look, we're going to see what happens, but we need it. I'm not the first one. This was talked about by President Truman, and 40 years before President Truman, they were talking about it. They've been talking about this for 100 years. This is not anything so new. A lot of people don't realize that, but this was a hot subject. Probably not as hot as it is now, but it was a hot subject for a long time. We need it for national security, and that includes for Europe. And I spoke with, as you know, Mark, the head of NATO, and he really wants to see something happen. It's very
All right. So today, the representatives from Denmark and Greenland visited, and they couldn't get along with Vance and Witkoff. Apparently it got heated a couple times, and then, they said what they niceties at the end. But what came out of it was the Americans are not budging. So Greenland, Trump is all in. And I cannot wait to see how this plays out. One thing that's very interesting in this, and I don't know if anybody's talked about this, but if we actually get Greenland, with Europe is freaking out about this. If we pull off getting Greenland, this might be the end of NATO. And I think Trump's okay with that. I think this is one of the things Trump is doing to break up NATO. I had this thought today because Trump is refusing to say we won't go in militarily. He's left it on the table. That's freaking out NATO like crazy, freaking out the EU like crazy. We're talking about buying it, but the number thrown out there is $700 billion. Guys, we're not giving $1 trillion to Denmark for Greenland. If anybody actually thinks that's going to happen, no. it's not going to happen. I could see it's maybe like $300 billion with tariff money, something like that. Maybe he puts that together. But Trump's in an operation right now trying to win the hearts and minds of the Greenland people, get them all on board. And then he will also keep pushing the buttons of the EU with threats, veiled threats. And they are throwing everything back. It's really showing their true colors. We had the Austrian, it wasn't the prime minister, but it was one of their major representatives, threaten our administration. We had another one come out and say, like, this NATO will come against you. I mean, they're starting to show their true colors. And the truth is they're terrified because they are nothing without the U.S. We're like 75, 80% of NATO when you can consider the money we put in and the actual military, the actual forces we provide, the weapons we have. So they know they can't stop us if we choose to get it. So this is all a show. It's all one big show. And the question is how long can they keep their side of the show up? They're hoping that Trump wears down. They can't figure out what to do about this. And the question is, why do they want it so bad? That's the other question. If it's strategic and we're the only country that can protect them from Russia and China, wouldn't you think they'd be perfectly willing to basically turn it over to us and then they just keep whatever thing they want from it, whether it's like some of the raw earth materials or minerals, maybe some oil if they found it, like just make a deal with us on that and be like, you guys can have it otherwise. That's exactly what they do. But they do not want to let this go. So the question is, why? What's really going on in Greenland? And what is the strategic value? Does the European Union, do the globalists feel like they need it in order to have strategic position over us? I don't know. But the more this unfolds, the more it doesn't make sense. Not that we don't want it. We're actually the only country it makes sense for in the Western Hemisphere to want it. It makes perfect sense if Russia would want it, if they were the big world-conquering bullies that people accuse Putin of being. It makes perfect sense why China would want it. China's trying to get their grips on every little piece of land they can everywhere. Make inroads every little place they can. That's how they're trying to dominate, by making deals with everybody, by infiltrating here and there, like making secret deals. They've got it all over the Middle East. They got it all over Africa. They had it in Venezuela. That's what they're doing. So it makes perfect sense for China. The EU, if they're so worried about Russia, they can't protect themselves. They can't protect themselves from China. So what's the big deal? This is very interesting. It is very interesting. It also proves, guys, that they can't. I just lost my train of thought. Hold on a second. My bad. I know what I was gonna say. It proves that we're not as close to them as they want everybody to believe, that the globalists want us to believe. They like having their power structure over there. Moody's laughing at NATO being over there. LMI says Greenland has the most fresh water. Well, okay, let's say you're right, which you probably are. It's got a lot of fresh water up there. Which one of these countries really needs that water? We don't. So what country does? Does Denmark really need that much of our water? I feel like all that area gets plenty of rain and water from the sky in the form of snow and rain. So I don't know. I mean, precipitation. So which country needs it? That's the question. Moody says Denmark needed U.S. to occupy Greenland to protect it during World War II. Exactly my point. Brett says, listening to a show today during World War II, Germany occupied Denmark. Denmark gave it up in 6 hours. Yeah. Well, but that's the thing. It's like they're not. Denmark is nothing. Denmark's not even as tough now as they were in World War II. we protect all of Europe. Europe made the decision to completely leave their militaries, whittle them down, stop paying for the military. They moved all their money into pension funds and social welfare programs. They've completely decimated. It's a joke. All of Europe combined right now spends less than half on their military that we do. That's all of Europe combined. It's pathetic. And most of that is Turkey. Turkey's one of the only countries that still like maintains its military. So it's insane to think that they have any kind of chance of preserving themselves if a real threat arrives. They just rely on us. And so to think that they believe that they are the ones that strategically are holding it, it's got to be more than just a military reason. It has to be. Eric says, if we have Greenland, we'll have Canada completely surrounded. I love that. It's a quicker route from the east to the U.S. through the Arctic. Alan, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, that is one of the other reasons to have it. There has been, the Arctic is one of those areas that just is a lot less explored and hasn't been used as strategically as much. So we want position there. We are the great power in the world. It's kind of asinine we don't have that. Now, if we get it, then we have Alaska on the west, Greenland on the east, in the Arctic. That's power. That's power. And more, I think we're going to get it. I think Trump is going to pull something off here where we're either going to get it completely or we're going to get full control of it in some kind of deal with them where we have rights to all of it. And they just get to preserve some semblance of authority, that makes them look good, but really it's ours now. That's what's going to happen. I really believe that's coming. The fact that Trump circled back to this after a year tells me we 100% will do it. Lochtefeld says if we pay every Greenland resident $1 million, it costs us $57 billion. Yeah, I mean, which for us with the tariff money coming in, that's doable. But we'll have to see how this goes. Denmark was part of Germany, World War II. Yeah, we were talking on that. Denmark gave up possession of the U.S. during World War II because they couldn't protect it. Yeah, and it's like it's so much worse now. Mario, I'm talking a lot in mute. What does that even mean? China. Well, yeah, I mean, the Chinese are trying to get their grips into Canada. That's been going on for a while. But the real people who run Canada are it's the globalist cabal, City of London types. I mean, it's all over the place. It's through the monarchy, through you can see it through the intelligence agencies by the way they route all that, all the cartel money up there, and then with the Indians coming in. I mean, Canada, we think we have an H-1B problem here. And listen, I'm not anti-Indian. It's like, come on over here, do it the right way. I'm fine with that. Be an American citizen, all that. I hate the H-1B visa nonsense. It's and it's been extremely abused. And so, but Canada has that problem 10 times worse than we do. It's awful up there. They really, like, native Canadians, it's impossible for them to get good jobs. Moody, tell me if I'm wrong, but that's in all my research. That's what that's saying. But you're up there, so you can tell me better. Elamite says it will be one of the following: a protectorate, a commonwealth, or a territory, one of those. Yeah, and then, listen, if we don't really do the commonwealth thing as the U.S., so if we've pulled this off, it's going to be a territory or, like you said, like a protectorate, most likely. And I hope we get it as a full territory that brings the most benefits with it. But again, we could work out some kind of deal where we have full control over it. We get every benefit from it. We get the strategy, we get the strategic we got bases there. We can use any minerals, whatever we find up there. We get everything. And then they just have access, like when they want, and they get to say it's still theirs. We could easily work out something like that. We'll see what happens. But he says they call them temporary foreign workers. Yeah, temporary, except they taking over the country. So, but yeah, Canada is, Mark Carney is he's an international banker. I mean, he worked for these people directly under them. Carney is the biggest stooge for these people. He's worse, and that's hard to say. He's worse than Trudeau. So Canada at the moment is gone. It doesn't mean it can't be saved, but as of right now, it's fully controlled. It's like we can't even trust it as a country. It's like having the EU on our border. It's that bad. And unfortunately, there's many, many, many millions and wonderful Canadians, like the ones in the chat here, wonderful people. So, that know better, but we'll, we got to pray that it works out, but it won't work out until, as bad as things are here, it's so much worse in Europe, in the EU. And they're so much further down the road of like their countries haven't been taken over and run amok and pilfered and pillaged, and they just took everything from their people and all their freedoms, and they gave them little, here's some niceties here and there. So you shut up, enjoy your 5 weeks of vacation, but you'll never earn more than you earn now. Like you'll get a 1% raise a year the rest of your life. But in France, you'll be a waiter till you're 75. That's the system they've built. And too many Europeans aren't awake yet to how much is stealing from them, to be honest. And until that happens, it's going to happen most likely. Like the only thing that's going to wake these people up is a full-on economic collapse. We're starting to see some waking up because of the immigration problems becoming such a big deal. And Trump does inspire people when they see what he's doing in America. It inspires a lot of others. So there is an awakening happening, but it's much slower, and it's nowhere near powerful enough. We were at the verge of collapsing into as bad as they were. We got saved. Thank you, Jesus. They went full in. So it's going to take a lot more work to pull out. And unfortunately, Canada's in that situation. And Canada won't get their freedom until I think that breaks up. They have to break. If the people of Canada want to fully take back their country, they have to break ties with the monarchy. Because as long as they keep that, it's the signal. It's the signal that that's actually who still runs this place. So that's what we're looking at. Time to add Canada as a territory as well. Start with Alberta. Alberta's best chance to survive and get out of Canada is probably to become either its own country, like they just secede, or they could maybe annex themselves to the U.S. That'd be very interesting. But I don't think they'd work as a territory because they're on our border. Alberta would have to become a state for that to work. But we'll see what's going to happen to your Canada Dry ginger ale. I'm sure somebody has a recipe down here. All you got to do is change the name, USA Dry. It's just like we did with the Gulf of Mexico. Now it's Gulf of America. That's all you got to do. We could call it America Dry. America Dry. Somebody's got to have it. Greenland will get an NFL team. Their entire population wouldn't fit in a stadium. Anyways, all right, got more to share. If you're enjoying the show, though, guys, please, if you don't mind, take 1 second, hit that like, hit that subscribe if you're new. I appreciate the views. I appreciate the support, but the subscribes and the likes really tell the algorithm that you're enjoying it. And so it shoots it out there. And that's the one chance for growth I have. And if you're watching on X, you can also hit repost, and I'd greatly appreciate it. Okay, let's keep going. Interesting story out today. This came out tonight. President Trump has told Reuters that Ukraine, not Russia, is holding up a potential peace deal. The rhetoric stands in marked contrast to that of European allies. I mean, listen, can you guys, now that we're down the road as far as we are on this, isn't it incredible how easy it is to see when we get stories like this now? It's just like, it's so obvious. Europe is the bad guys over and over again. And I don't mean all Europeans, and I don't even mean all their leaders. We have people like Viktor Orban who are amazing, but you know what I mean? Like, that is obviously the center of all the bad stuff that we've been dealing with for the most part. Okay, not all of it. Obviously there's some China stuff, but the vast majority of it comes from there. And you could trace it back to there. And you could trace it back to the monarchy and the British Empire and all that stuff. It's just more and more obvious. But here, it's just one of the most obvious stories I've ever seen, just showing it like right here in broad daylight for everybody to see. It's so obvious. They don't want this war to end. So Trump, who, pretty much everybody on watching this can agree, we can trust. He's proven it time and time again. We see what he's doing. We see how our country's improving. He tells Reuters it's not Russia. Well, why? Of course it's not Russia. Russia wants out. Russia wants to be done. Russia wants to actually start opening up trade with the U.S. We're going to be allies when this is over. Mark my words. It's going to happen. That's what Trump and Putin have been talking about. They're trying to get out of this. But who doesn't want it to end? The Europeans. And they're just throwing blame at Russia. And who does the left, the media, the neocons, who do they all side with? All the unipartyists, they all side with Europe and Ukraine over and over and over again. Again, this is everything we've been talking about the good guys, the bad guys, the global politics that actually matter, what's really going on behind the scenes. It's right here in this first paragraph. And isn't that crazy? And it's like, now we're at the point it's easy to see. But I love when they make it obvious. I love when they make it obvious. A leftist will watch this or read this and be like, how dare Trump cross the Europeans? They know better than him. And that's where the brainwashing is. Some of the neocons that are on the right, because of their hawkish ways, they'll see it that way because they all just don't understand Putin, which only takes, an hour of reading Russian history of the last 30 years, and you'll understand Putin real fast. Exclusive interview in the Oval Office on Wednesday, Trump said Russian President Vladimir Putin is ready to wrap up his nearly 4-year-old invasion of Ukraine. Zelensky, the U.S. president, said was more reticent. How could you be more reticent when you are the country getting rammed up the patooter? You're getting destroyed and you're reticent to make a deal. None of it makes sense. I think he's ready to make a deal. Trump said, I think Ukraine is less ready. Asked why U.S.-led negotiations did not resolve Europe's largest land conflict since World War II, Trump simply responded, Zelensky. That's it. Trump is done playing the games. He played nice. He got in year one. He knew a lot of people needed waking up. So he played nice with Zelensky. Not always. He blew up at him. He couldn't stand him in the Oval Office challenging him. He was like, listen, little dude, you don't go that far. You're not going to challenge me in my place, on my home field, in front of the world. No. But, they kept playing games and tried. He's given him every out, and Zelensky hasn't taken it. You saw how scared Zelensky looked the last time he was over here. His bug eyes are getting buggier every time. He's starting to twitch more. He's like Donkey and Shrek. Like, look at my eye twitching. Yeah, that's Zelensky because the stress is getting to him. Zelensky knows he's got to get out of this. He knows everything is crashing down around him, and yet he's a puppet. And his handlers are like, you will stay in this. You have no choice. That's what's going on. Canada just gave Ukraine $2 billion. Oh my God. I completely believe that. Brett says, completely believe that Zelensky doesn't want to get off the money train. Well, it's not just that. It's all of Europe. So remember that. Like, even if Zelensky wants out at this point, if he knows that, like, his death is about to come, the corruption charges have got, like, that, all those investigations are ramping up. He could spend his life in prison. It doesn't matter because Zelensky's not his own man. It started that way. It started where he was making the money. I don't think it's that anymore. I think, that was his reward for playing along. But then Trump won. And ever since Trump won, the money spigot shut off. And Zelensky now is just hanging in there just so the globalists can use him the way they want to. All Man says, why do they hate Trump so much? Because, Moody responds, because they hate us. It's not just that. It's that's a big part of it. But they hate Trump because he's the only one who ever stood up to them and is winning. JFK stood up to them, axed. Reagan started to stand up to them. They shot him and hit. He survived. Reagan was not the same after that. Did great things for the economy, did great things with the Soviet Union, but he also did a lot of terrible things that are where we're at now. Amnesty, letting pharmaceutical companies not be sued for vaccine injuries. That all happened under Reagan, and look at the health of our country. I love Reagan, but he's not the perfect, he doesn't have the perfect record. A lot of conservatives believe he does. He didn't fight back as much as he could have. And I think they sent him the message and he got it. And he survived it, but it shook him. And you just go back. Lincoln killed him. This is a war that's been going on for a long time. And very few have pushed back. But Trump is the one. And here's the other thing about Trump. Not only is Trump fighting back and winning, he's going to win. And I think they know it. We had, in the last year, Trump got in. The last election was really, to them, the writing on the wall. And it was, okay, we have one last chance to stop Trump and stop this thing from happening, but we have to do everything perfect. And they couldn't. And even if they did everything perfect, as long as Trump played it well, they weren't going to win. And Trump's, that year, you guys remember, especially towards the end of last year, they started pulling out a lot of stops. They tried, and Trump navigated all of it. And now we're through it, and he's accelerating. You can see it. The Venezuela was the shot heard around the world. That was a shot that this is the year I'm putting you guys down. It doesn't mean there's not always going to be fighting. It doesn't mean everything will get cleaned up this year. But to me, I believe 2026, this is the year that he's going to break their hold over us once and for all. And they'll have to fight someday to get it back if they ever get another chance. But this is the year he's actually breaking it. And this is what we're seeing with all the land grab. Trump is, think about how impressive this is right now. Trump is completely pulling off foreign policy miracles left and right, spending all his time on that. And yet, well, I shouldn't say spending all his time on that. It looks like he's spending all his time on that. At the same time, he's completely rebuilding our broken economy. And it's a miracle what this man is pulling off. And I know it's not just him. He built an incredible team around him as well. But, when I say Trump, I mean that whole team. But he is the figurehead. And it starts and ends with him. Like, he is a true leader in that sense, making the decisions. And what's crazy about all this, it's that he's winning on all fronts. I had a talk with Bam today, not a long one, but I I was asking him about, cause it was looking really iffy with the markets, since November, whether they break. And I was like, hey, does it still look rough for the markets ahead? And he said, yeah, I mean, it looks really bad. Like something like, cause what BAM's model does, it tracks all the money flows all over the world. He can see where they're moving their money around. So based on all that, he knows if they're preparing for stuff, and he can see that they're preparing for a market crash. And that's why his model is calling for it. But he said to me, he said, yeah, they're still preparing for that. He said, but Trump keeps outmaneuvering them. He's like, it's crazy. He's been able to keep it up this long. And so, I still believe we have to have a crash at some point. But it tells me that Trump's able to keep it off until he needs it to happen, until he's ready for it to happen, because they're all preparing for it. And you know what that means to me? It means that if there is a market crash or a major market correction, and it goes into turmoil, it means that Trump's timing it. He's making sure that it's going to happen when it's going to hurt them the most and hurt us, like as a country, the least. So I don't know. That's what I think anyways, when I see it. But again, the model for him hasn't changed, but he keeps seeing it. He's like, Trump just keeps outmaneuvering him. It's crazy. And so there's so much going on behind the scenes that we don't know. It's incredible stuff, but the wins keep coming. Oh, here's another thing they're doing. They're cleaning up our elections little by little. And this is all going to add up. I know we haven't gotten the SAVE Act passed yet. Hopefully Congress will get some balls and nuke the filibuster, but we'll see if Trump's able to get them to do that. Cause there's a lot of deep staters still in the Senate, but look at this. I mean, we're getting dirty voter rolls cleaned up all across the country. Judicial Watch lawsuit. Oregon Secretary of State announced removal of 800,000 dirty names from voter rolls. That's 5.8 million names removed from voter rolls nationally. How screwed up are our elections? Oregon's not a large state population-wise. Maybe 6 million. So 800,000, that's nearly 1 million bad names on the voter rolls getting cleaned up. So, there's nothing that needs fixing that Trump isn't working towards, in my opinion. I feel like I see it everywhere, even in the markets, which are, I know in this community, one of the biggies, but I believe there's small things happening behind the scenes leading up to the big stuff, just like with the elections. We talked about this the other day. I told you guys that I did a video about how Trump last week with his political maneuvers and his economic announcements, like with housing and this credit stuff, are I told you that these are hugely popular, and he probably just sealed the midterms by doing them, along with how the economy is going to do. Well, let's tune in with Harry. Harry, it's been a while since we heard you, Harry. My favorite New York Jew from afar. Harry N. with the numbers on Trump's credit executive order decision. That probably isn't going to happen, but look how smart the politics were.
It is generating a ton of interest, John Berman. I mean, just take a look here. Google searches for credit card rate cap up 3,200% versus a year ago, up like a rocket. And every single poll that I have looked at, it's an extremely popular policy. And therefore, I'm not sure about the policy, but it is great at this point, great politics.
Yeah, maybe the victory for him is merely talking about it, whether or not it goes through. Why? Why do you think there's so much interest in this?
Why is there so much interest in this? Why do I say it's great politics? Well, take a look here. How Americans feel. Credit card debt is a stress in my life. Look at this. You get the majority of Americans, 55% say credit card debt is a stress in my life. More than that, where cost of living ranks on terms of the top issues in terms of what's affecting you and your family, it is number one in poll after poll after poll. So when you see this, you see a majority of Americans saying credit card debt is a stress in my life, and you see that ranking number one, cost of living in terms of the top issues, That is why there's so much interest in something that I think a lot of Americans think can address the very issue that they feel is numero uno, and that is the cost of living.
How partisan of an issue has credit card debt become?
Yeah, okay, so this is another reason why I think this is great politics is, oftentimes we see issues that divide Americans. Liberals and Democrats on one side, conservatives and Republicans on the other. But take a look here. Percentage with credit card debt, 49% of Democrats, 48% of independents, and 51% of Republicans. It is a bipartisan problem in this country. So all of a sudden, Donald Trump is saying, hey, let me find an issue in which I can unite the different factions in this country behind something that I am trying to propose here. This is it, baby. This is an issue that unites Democrats, independents, and Republicans, because the percentage with the credit card debt amongst Republicans, independents, and Democrats is pretty much gosh darn equal.
Well, what are the chances, though, that there is actually a cap based on people betting on it?
Yeah, okay. So essentially you see this, you see it's good politics, right? You see, of course, that the Google searches are way, way up. But in terms of the chance that it actually happens, chance the federal government this year caps credit card rates, at this point, the Kalshi prediction market has it at only a 33% chance. So good politics talking about it, but actually getting it accomplished, that I think is a little bit tougher to do, and the prediction markets agree on that.
Yeah, it's not nothing. 33% is not nothing. However, it may be more about the discussion, more about the proposal than actually passing.
Correct. We'll see what happens, because politics these days always surprises me.
Harold Etton, thank you very much.
Thank you,
We got a lot of
Jonathan
news this morning. More after the break.
All right, do all you guys who love credit card companies like you, Eric, you feel better now? The idea of it not likely to happen. Listen, there's no way they're going to get the rates down to 10%. No way at all. But the point is how brilliant the politics are. And this is what Trump is doing, again, and going back to last night with Scott Adams, like how he talks about Trump's persuasion. You say these crazy things on purpose because it gets attention. And then what did we all learn when Trump says this? What does the average person feel? Because that's what matters, is how they feel. We don't think logically. How did you feel when it said go after the credit card companies and cap at 10%? It feels good to the vast majority of Americans. I would even say 80 to 90% of Americans read that and say yes, because we all hate credit card companies. We all hate people who are taking advantage of us or feel like they're taking advantage of us. We hate, even if we don't feel like they're taking advantage of us, we feel like we're stuck, and we hate that we have to use them. And so if they're getting less money off of it, which makes my life a little easier, that feels great. So everything about it was perfect politics. And the only people complaining about it are the people who are extremely financially literate and are using those credit cards or the people who just hate Trump. But this is something that Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, AOC, their voters love. Most of MAGA loves the idea. Trump found an issue that also it accomplishes a lot. It makes him more popular. It makes the people trust him more, believe he's going after the elites. That's all win, 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 win. The other thing it does is that it will eventually kill this policy and make it that it's impossible to do. But the good news in that is that it also will weed out wherever they are overcharging. Credit card banks make 10% more than regular banks that don't do credit cards. So there definitely is some usury in there. They don't need the rates to be as high. So if Trump even gets the rates down, say a person with poor credit's got a rate of 30%, if he even gets those rates down to 25%, 23%, those people are going to feel amazing. They're going to be like, dang, Trump did it. My monthly payment's lower, blah, blah, blah. It's a win. It's a no-lose proposition. And that's where Trump, again, all that he's pulling off foreign policy-wise, all that he's building economically, and also still smart enough to throw this stuff out there to keep winning voters when he's doing all these hard things. It's amazing. I've just never seen anything like it. He's a political athlete that is he's the modern GOAT. He's the Michael Jordan of politics. It's incredible how he's pulling all this off. Let me see in the chat here real quick. Bolts fan says many in Iran coming to Christ. Yes, yeah, and that's actually been happening for a while now, which is awesome. Lochtefeld says Russians have tried horse cavalry and motorcycle charges in Ukraine to avoid drones hitting armored personnel. Really? That's crazy. I have not seen that story. That is a wild story. Let's see here. IT guy, Department of War, caught with a top secret military, now in jail, depending on type of charges from Pam Bondi. Yes, I did see that. That's good stuff. Let's see here. Something should be said about pay later scams. Yeah, listen, I agree with you, but here's the thing about buy now, pay later. The people in general love it. And the reason is it doesn't go on your credit report. So you can do buy now, pay later. You can get the stuff, and people are doing this. It's actually costing a lot of money, but a lot of them are not paying. They do the buy now, pay later. They use it and they ditch it, and it doesn't affect their credit. Now they'll still be gone after by collections agencies and stuff, but it doesn't affect their credit score. So a lot of people love the buy now, pay later, and nobody's like complaining about that yet. The other thing about buy now, pay later is it's usually paid off in like 4 to 8 months. So you don't feel the sting the same way as a credit card, that you could make a credit card purchase for, spend $5,000 on a credit card. And you could be making minimum payments on it for 10 years. It feels like it never goes away. That's the difference. Whereas buy now, pay later is much more limited. So, I do think there's issues there, but I don't think the people feel the sting of buy now, pay later the same yet as they do of credit cards. And that's why that one's not going to be addressed yet. Okay, so we have more fraud coming out. This was released today. Nick Shirley did another expose. He released today, 51-minute video. He went into this store, found that they were registered as a transportation company, were getting millions of dollars, and aren't doing anything with it. So more fraud being exposed in the Somalians, Minnesota, all this. It's spreading. Excellent. It's just keep it coming. This will bring justice behind it. We have riots picking up. This is all going on in Minnesota. There's a big push right now to the left is all of them, the uniparty left globalist types. They're seeing an opportunity, and I don't know if it's a real opportunity or if they're just forcing it. I think it's more forced, but they're trying to force this anti-ICE thing, because if they are able to neuter ICE, which they're not going to be able to, the Supreme Court's already ruled on it. They're already fully funded for Trump's entire term. This is immigration's easily constitutionally protected federal jurisdiction. They're not going to be able to stop it. So the only hope they have is to turn the public against it and tank Trump's numbers. That's what they're trying to do right now, knowing that the midterms are coming up. They're going to make it very much so more and more uncomfortable and keep pushing the lever on this, ramping up the pressure. The response is what's going to be interesting. Will it get to the point where Trump finally invokes the Insurrection Act? We might be getting close. It really could be getting close. Look at what just happened tonight, and I just shared this. I saw it on my phone. But Pam Bondi has started to deploy federal prison guards in riot gear. Federal response is growing every day, per Nick Sorter, who's one of the best independent journalists out there. So it does look, guys, like we could be getting very close to Insurrection Act time. Here's the deal: if the Insurrection Act is invoked, it's going to be a mess for a little bit politically. It's going to be hard to navigate politically, but it will really speed up putting down Antifa, all these organized leftists who are running all these events and causing all this nonsense. So it'll be a good thing, but in the short term, it'll be rocky. it will. I'm going to be excited when it finally happens because I think they'll have a plan. But it's definitely getting closer and closer to that point. I mean, again, it's just sending in federal prison guards in riot gear to protect the DHS agent. Isn't that crazy? Moody says, what will happen if he invokes the act? Basically, Moody, what happens when you invoke the Insurrection Act, it gives the president full power to then send the military into wherever he feels necessary. It's basically the go-ahead to use the military against your own citizens. Obviously not to kill them or anything, but it's been used many times in our history. It was used by George Bush #1 several times, I think 3 times, to stop the riots in LA. So, it's used, but and it does look like Minneapolis could be the first city based on what we're starting to see. Tim Walz came out tonight, did a statement about standing up to ICE. In fact, let me pull that up in case you guys didn't see this. I mean, it's really ramping up. So Tim Walz did a video tonight. I'm not going to play it because I can't stand him. But he says trying to paint ICE as equivalent of Gestapo. They're hunting for people of color, asking for papers. I mean, the Minnesota's government is so far left. And when you have all the fraud coming out on the Somalian side, you're going to have, from Trump's point of view, he'll have more support to go into Minnesota because it makes perfect sense to go after all this with ICE because of the fraud. People don't want their tax dollars being wasted. And then you meet that with the far left government of Minnesota, especially in the Minneapolis area, and you have a perfect storm of where it makes sense for Trump to do it here, where he might have an easier chance to pull it off with the people behind him. And then you have the far left who's going to just keep pushing it. So yeah, it could definitely get there. Alan says, if my daughter even gets hurt, a mad father will be heading there. Oh man, is your daughter in Minneapolis? Tell her to get out. I mean, I don't know if she can get out, but tell her to stay out of the streets, Brett Walz is a douchebag. He makes Ryan Seacrest not look like a fool. I would hang out with Ryan Seacrest over Walz all day, every day. And then I just wanted to share this last thing before we go tonight. A big win from afar. Listen, I know a lot of people are scared about digital ID, and rightfully so. I'm not as afraid of it as others are, but I understand it. But I don't want it, and I don't think it's a good thing. When I say I'm not afraid of it, I just don't believe it's going to happen here, is my point. But this is huge. Because of the building pressure on X, the people in UK rose up, and they were able to defeat digital ID for the moment in the UK. Now, if the UK can defeat digital ID, you better believe we're going to be able to defeat it. So just a major win. The UK is one of the countries most controlled by the globalists, the elites, and they just lost this is a big battle they lost. So if you're blackpilling, you see stuff like this, it's important to remember that context. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for me tonight. It's pretty late. It went long, but like I said, there was a lot to cover. I'll be back on tomorrow, regular show, and members, I'll be figuring out what I'm going to do with you guys this weekend. So, love you guys. Appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe on your way out. Repost if you're on X, share it with a friend, let your black-pilled friends or scared friends or Trump, maybe not full haters because they won't listen, but the ones who are maybe iffy on what he's doing, share this with them. Maybe it'll help them understand more. That's one of the things I keep trying to do is just help everybody really understand what's going on, sift through the nonsense, and do it all with hope, because we are winning. We are winning huge. The wins are advancing. They are picking up steam. Our momentum is gaining, and we are in such a better place than we were at this time last year. I mean, night and day. From early 2025 before Trump got in till now, it's just, the world is a different place, and it's beautiful, and we are heading in such a beautiful direction. So get ready, because I think it's only going to get much better from here. So God bless you guys. Like and subscribe on the way out, and let's end in a prayer, because it's working and we got to keep doing it. So Heavenly Father, thank you for today. God bless everybody watching here tonight. I pray you be with them, Lord. Let them feel your presence, and just be for them wherever they need you most, Lord. In Jesus' name I ask. And bless President Trump, bless his team. We pray a blessing of protection over them, a blessing of wisdom over them, and a blessing of continued boldness over them in Jesus' name. I pray, God, that things are getting done behind the scenes, and that more and more, God, corruption would be brought to light, fraudsters would be brought to light, and justice would just start spreading like wildfire throughout our country and throughout the world. I pray, God, that you just guide the hands, Lord, of our leaders right now, and God, that there's just favor in all they want to do. So, Lord, we just speak justice and prosperity in the land, and that new beginnings truly keep coming. And again, bless everybody watching in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Love you guys. Have a wonderful night.